but how long does this like honeymoon stage last for them? Can they keep it all the way through all of the rounds? And can they hold on to their leaderboard standings today?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are going to see a nice plane path right out of the gate today, nice and easy all the way across the middle of the map. A lot of options here for teams. Now, yesterday we did see established drop areas, and I imagine we're going to see the same today. So for those teams that have had the ability to kind of get into a spot that's kind of comfortable for them. I guess the story for me, at least, is Honeybadgernation. Obviously, day one is always kind of the pace set for the tournament. It doesn't always stay that way. Consistency is key. Do you think Honeybadgernation is going to be able to keep it going through day number 2?
They had a very strong performance. We've seen them really not be afraid to take fights. That's usually whenever an unsigned team kind of works their way through the qualifiers, they tend to be slightly afraid. Honeybadgernation does not have that fear. They will come out, they'll take the shots if they think they've got it. Specifically Fast Rail, we've seen him playing really aggressive, not afraid to take down full teams by himself. So definitely somebody we're going to have to keep an eye on as this goes through. Drops are kind of pretty much what we were expecting as we saw from yesterday. Nothing too crazy on this. The one thing to note is based off the plane path, it looks like it was a little hard for our military base island guys to get over there, but a slight change-up looks like it's coming over here from McCoy and the rest of his guys. They're actually having to land on the outskirts. Milta was kind of their home, so we're seeing that they're dropping down here. They're going to have to make the run over to Milta, and the first circle has just popped. And it's actually over next to Georgia Pool. So they're going to have to run over here, loot real quick, find a vehicle, and then hightail it back over into the safe circle.
Absolutely. So for Ghost having to go to Milta, they were likely looking for vehicles. You saw McCoy just a moment ago, long dropping to find himself a vehicle, but no one seems to have found one. They're all on foot right now, running to Milta, and this is the type of situation that can make your early game a little bit more difficult. Is when you have to start your loot phase late rather, and then have to potentially leave late as well to get to the first play zone.
Well, we've all had that. You know, you drop down, you go to a place that you do the call from the plane, you land, and all of a sudden you see the circle on the entire other side of the map, and it's just, oh man.
Yep, nothing
Loot
to do.
quickly, turn around, gotta go. Now, for the guys that opted into going over near that Georgia Pool area, that's gonna really pay off for them. Like we know the Tempo Storm loves to do that trash looting around Gatka where they all separate out. Half of them are actually going to be inside of that circle already. The guys in Yasnaya in that area don't have too far to go, but we actually don't have a lot of teams that are going to be inside of the safe circle. Now, over here running with Trigger Happy. This is one of I know the community's favorite teams. A lot of people are keeping an eye on them. These guys have started off. They were part of the original community as they come through here. This is actually their first LAN that they managed to qualify for. They've always been playing the online leagues. You know that they're excited to be here.
Well, we did actually run it. I mean, this is not particularly pertinent to PUBG, but we all went to Universal Studios yesterday. We did run into Trigger Happy and their squad there. All really nice guys. And luckily for them, they were able to get onto the Waterworld ride. We were not able to do. I'm not upset about it. I'm not upset.
Well, we're gonna listen in on Trigger Happy's
Hopefully they're talking
comms
about how sweet Waterworld
and how
is.
it goes through here. So let's pop over with Machine Gunner and team.
You didn't get what I did there, Shredded? About making my way downtown?
Walking fast.
Faces pass.
And
I'm homebound. Drop the beat. Drop the beat. Another 6x.
Wow.
That's some
That's really exciting. Between singing and talking about scopes on the ground, this is that's really magical.
I won. Actually, you wonder why we're in 18th place. It's probably because we have our comms as singing Vanessa Carlton.
And there you go. Now you know why there's some community favorites right there.
Amazing. That was perfect. Awesome. Trigger Happy Vanessa Carlton hopefully guides you to victory today. That's perfect. Actually checking in with Honeybadgernation, they are in Novo. They do arguably have the longest trek to the first play zone, and we can already see actually Spacestation Gaming has changed it up a little bit. Normally going down towards that ferry pier area, they've decided to land more central and trash loot. I'm not sure if that was just a symptom of the plane path and if they're just trying to keep it safe, but Smurf already headed into the center.
Well, one thing to note about Honeybadgernation, they've kind of got it in control over the Novo area. That's where Nova tends to drop quite a bit. It looks like they've kind of forced a lot of these teams out of their spot. Most squads actually don't like going towards military base because it's so hard to get out of. We have 2 squads. That's where they always go. Honeybadgernation has gotten control over Novo, and we've got God Squad that always loves to go to military base proper. Really net up on that loot and move out.
We'll play what's in front of
No doubt. So we're actually, I think we're just hearing, that is Fast Rail chatting to his team. But The one thing that's really interesting about this initial circle is the density that's going to occur around that Georgia pole area. We've seen this in the past where a lot of teams will crash middle, try and get the best compound available. But when you're in a big city like Georgia Pole, you start to lose track of who's around you. And if you happen to be there first, even though you have the good position, you kind of lose track of who's arriving in town and where they're setting up. So you can get surprised by teams if you're not careful.
There's just a building density over there. Sure, you can take a couple of shots and scare somebody away, usually when you're trying to hold a building complex, but when you're trying to hold a whole city, you can't really defend something like Georgia Pole and keep 80 people out of it. Even if you take a couple of shots at them, they're just going to curve around and go to a different building complex. So it's going to be really interesting to see how many of these teams actually decide to go into Georgia Pole, maybe try to make a foothold there.
No doubt. So as far as the transition idea is concerned, the amount of choke points that you can typically hold, you can see C9 holding on to one just a little bit further down by Georgia Pole here, and I'm interested to see who is going to be able to maybe set up in that area and try and hold on to that, because that's going to allow them to put a lot of pressure coming into that Georgia Pole area.
Well, also Crate's area that we're looking at right now can be fairly defendable. Actually, quick glance over. That's Honeybadgernation still down in Nova. I thought we popped over to Crates for just a second. But we are actually starting to see a lot of the teams start their migration phases now. You can see Optics making their way over. They already were in Rajak. Looks like they want to push in a little bit. We saw a lot of centering strategies coming in yesterday. Everybody was really diehard on center, with a couple of teams playing on these outlier positions. Kind of curious if we're going to see that go through, specifically in this area, because we have that river that's coming right through the middle of the circle, right through Georgia Pole, you know, goes all the way over to the Yasnaya area. That's going to make a lot of little mini bridge camp possibilities pop up as these guys either transition late or have to reposition in the next couple of circles.
Eunited, a team sitting currently in third place, having a win yesterday. A team that has had some changes as well as some struggles on LAN in the past, but they seem to be kind of coming together, at least at the end of yesterday. They were a little passive to start the day, but started getting more aggressive and playing the position a lot better, playing their position a lot better. And we are seeing now the initial transition as we follow Eunited headed towards that first circle. That density outside of Georgia Pole actually getting a little higher than what we would have expected.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised we have so many teams that are pushing over into that northern area. That's the gamble that comes into play, specifically with the river. You take that gambit. Okay, is it going to be north of the river? Is it going to be south of the river? And it looks like all the teams yesterday, if we remember, Dignitas pretty much had control over the entire northern section of the map. I'm willing to bet everybody went back and watched VODs, and they're thinking, oh, let's go to the northern area because nobody's been up there. Well, now it's kind of one of those moments where everybody's watched the VODs, and it's going to potentially come back and bite them because they're all going to end up stacking in the same spot.
Absolutely. And now we see Gankstars, a team that has had some struggles through day number one. They are going to be setting up along the hillside just to the north of that Georgia Pole area. Dignitas around the same. They're actually really close to the coast. And since they start their game typically in the northern half of the map, we're going to see them with the advantage, at least from audio and visual information, as they're actually getting closer and closer to Optic, who has been taking fire around this area. So we'll see if Dignitas wants to spring the first trap of this game.
All around these hillside locations, you can have a lot of interesting skirmishes pop up. You've got the trees, you've got the little divots. See, back behind them, there's that open field. Most of these teams are going to opt into playing along the hillside because you can kind of crest up, take a couple of shots, and peek back down. Really comes down to who gets information on who first. And it looks like Dignitas is aware of where Baja is. You can see that they keep repositioning back and forth. They're aware that somebody's around them. They're just trying to get information on where everybody is before you take that first shot because it's so risky.
No doubt, and they have the opportunity to do some serious damage to Optic, who is not aware of their presence. But they look like they're going to want to back this off. I don't know if they're ready to try and take this fight. I think they're concerned about sight lines, about who could potentially see them. And to be fair, they may not have spotted Optic just yet either. So they might be aware someone's in the area just based on the gunshots, but couldn't find any visual information.
That's one of the problems that Dig was having yesterday. Whenever they would come up, they'd see somebody, they'd take the shots, give away their position, and then third parties would just come in all over on top of them, tear them apart, and they lose that good standing position that they fought so hard to claim early. So I think that they're going to lean back into a little bit more of information gathering as far as day two goes and kind of learn from their mistakes. And here we go. We've got a couple of shots coming up from Dig. They had to take those shots. Both of them got line of sight on top of each other, now doing a little bit of retreat, doing markings. It's going to be team gates that they actually unload on first.
Absolutely, and we are going to see very shortly how Dignitas is going to manage this first engagement. They did see team gates come up in their vehicles. They heard heard them drive by, and landing those first few shots has now alerted them to their presence. And they're also seeing Flyquest as well. So for now, Dignitas in a very good spot to start taking a lot of shots, teams in transition.
That was an interesting reposition coming out from Valiate, who just cut out and around them. Remember that Dignitas had information on Optic that was to the south. So with that, they were taking a couple of shots back and forth on them. Looks like Optic is going for a long flank out and around them, so you can see all three of the teams. Optic's finally reunited together. Gates is pulling back out and away towards the Georgia Pool area. It looks like Dignitas is making their way a little bit more towards the north.
Yeah, this early game skirmish, not really an ideal situation for any of these teams, a little bit cautious. So for now, the way that Optic has been set up, they're at the low ground position between Dignitas and Team Gates. They have to be careful not to get into a situation where they have to rotate around this hill, as Team Gates and Dignitas could both take fire at them. So we're going to see the circle change here very shortly. Ghost arriving late on scene along with Nova, expected considering how far away they were from the play zone.
Yeah, if you look on the map right now, whenever we pull it back out and away, that we actually have Ghost doing a long flank around the outside, actually going through Yasnaya, playing outside the blue, and they're just now making their foothold in. You can see Venerated's coming on the outside of there. We've got McCoy coming up back behind it. Nova's coming in as well. Locknarb's way back behind them. Everybody's going to get their foothold in, but there's so many people that are in this northern area. I'm kind of surprised by that. You'd think that there'd be a couple of guys that were leaning more towards the southern part of the circle.
No doubt, and we can see now that pressure starting to mount around the where Totality is coming in. Eunited is there as well as Motivate, and we will see the circle shift further in towards the Georgia Pole Bay. So now all these teams moving towards Zarki, they're going to have to decide, do they want to stay in that Georgia Pole safe zone area, or do they want to kind of get out and find a hilltop hold? Optic has found themselves in now a similar position that Dignitas did, and Valiate also in transition with Dignitas, so no fire happening just yet, but this transition crunch is coming.
Yeah, if you look at the map right now, everybody has already hopped in their vehicles. Nobody was expecting a shift such as this. Optic's already taken some shots over at Dignitas. Everybody's got to push over into the Zarki area because it's predominantly running right up beside of them. Dignitas Adam just gets taken down. Was not expecting anybody behind those trees. That's what happens whenever you have an odd transition with the circle like this.
I think he was more so going for the roadkill there and just got turned on by Bahawaka and Valiate, both picking up shots there. So that's a nice initial kill. And now that's not done, as Eunited also coming past. Venerated from Ghost has been taken down, and Eunited has to completely veer off course. So that is now Motivate and Ghost getting tangled up in transition. You can see with all this water currently in the play zone, it's going to be a lot of landmass grabbing happening here in Totality, and that edge of the play zone is starting to light up.
Motivate has kind of set themselves up in a gatekeeping position. They're now taking shots over at Flyquest. All these teams that transition early found their little cubby. They're now turning around and firing at everybody that's trying to come through this area. Nobody wanted to go to the Georgia Pool area because they thought that was where it was going to be really hot. Vehicles are just going down everywhere, as you can see Valiant having to dodge the car after he gets the down that was coming towards the direction.
So for Flyquest, that's something being finished off, and Valiant picking up his second kill of this game. Motivate there as well. There is a lot of teams fighting here. Eunited has also come to a stop. NRG arriving on scene with their vehicles as well. Flyquest now trading with Optic. Optic very active here, and you can see the intensity from Valiant trying to get as much information as possible, and all of this transition has completely gone awry for most of these teams.
Optic was having to make a foot transition whenever everybody came in with vehicles. There are so many people condensed. Look on the map right now. We've got Nova that's caught in a crossfire between 3 different squads. Optic is separated to 3 different corners around this. It's just squad taking shot after shot at each other, and you can see the kill feed shows that. All these squads are caught in such an early skirmish. Usually we don't see this type of violence for another circle or two.
Absolutely, and I think it's just a matter of the plane path plus the circle combination, and we see NRG get eliminated first right out of the gate, so that is going to be a big issue for them. Coming into a day that they needed to really perform, but that top half of the zone, God Squad and C9 are trading blows as well as Tempo Storm.
But look, Optic, they have a guy right in between them on the minimap. Valiant's coming back over, running in between them. Is he going to see Locknarb there?
No.
Is Locknarb going to take any shots? That like rushed right by him. Locknarb just pops up and takes down Valiant. Right next to him is going to be Baja
can he
Waka,
save
though.
him?
Locknarb goes down. So that means that Baja should be able to make it over
Baja's
here.
down too.
Oh my God, he got third-partied off to the side.
So Dignitas has been, I think, the crux of this entire engagement. You can see they've taken a decent position and have been firing down on everybody. Dignitas not allowing any real room to move right now. So now Locknarb and Valiate sitting next to each other. I wonder what they're saying.
This is, yeah, know it's an awkward situation when you like crawl next to each other. It's like, why were you even in this bush, man? Like, how did this end up happening? So they're going to be crawling out here. I don't know if Hetcher can come over here. It's too risky at this point. He's the last person that's standing on his team. Richie's actually going to make his way over here and come try to rescue Lockdart.
He made it over there.
And so he took a lot of damage, but I think he might be able to get this res up.
I think that they're going to have to try and smoke and get away from the watchful eyes of Dignitas, who've been basically spoiling this entire situation for them. Lockdart not bleeding out too quickly, but he can be saved. But they are taking a huge risk. Richie made that vehicle push through several teams. Heroic move on his part. Will it be able to pay off?
Popping over here with Dignitas, and you can see this position that they're playing in. They've dropped their cars down inside the divot to protect them. They're just stepping up and peeking. We were talking about this a little bit yesterday. Whenever you have confidence inside of your shots, opt away from buildings and just step up and take shots. Whenever you have full 360 degrees that you can fire in from one of these divots, just take it and get whatever you can. Every single kill is 15 points. That is massive inside of this tournament. So you want to go as bloodthirsty as you conceivably can.
So Dignitas did lose Adam on rotation, but they have now translated that rotation into a very good spot. We have seen now more teams opting to use their vehicles to just get away from this pressure point at the top of the map. And for teams like C9 and Ghost specifically, they're kind of trapped on the coastline. And even teams that have arrived later now benefiting of not having run into that horrible mess on the top end of the play zone.
We just saw that tragedy that happened with Optic a second ago. Hypoc actually managed to get the res, so they were back up to 2. Hetcher was riding over with Hypoc as they were doing the hard push over into Georgia Pool area and lost one. So Optic is now down to just 1 player. They did manage to get into a safe zone, though. But all these guys that now opted around the Zarky area, I think we're just going to see full-on urban combat. I don't know where else the circle can go at this point. Everybody looks like they're being slowly forced into Georgia Pool.
Absolutely. Now, with the Georgia Pool Bay being such an issue here, we can actually see God Squad arriving on the bottom as well as Dignitas continues to take shots at Eunited. Eunited has decent cover here. They have their vehicle set up. They did arrive first. Don't have the sight that Dignitas does, but Eunited playing their position quite well so far. They are just inside the play zone. I think edge play is going to be the key here.
Well, we've talked about this several times, Moses. It seems like this is just a defining example on why transition and movement and getting to a spot early and claiming it is so key inside of competitive PUBG. You want to make sure that you get to the spot that you feel you can control best. We actually have Spacestation Gaming that's starting to do a push on Totality, but they did see it. Lost does spin over and get it down onto Vexel. Interesting to see how these guys line up on each other.
So we have seen the initial down come onto Vexel, and the nades actually come out as well. So that's Los HD finishing off Vexel. Now it's going to be up to a 3-strong Spacestation Gaming. Do they want to keep this going? The circle is on the way. We've seen this issue from Totality in the past. They're committed to a fight on the edge of the play zone, and now they're caught out by the zone as well as the players they're fighting. They're forced into a rotation with little planning. Is this going to go south again for Totality here?
They're just really held out right now. They've got Gankstars that's taking shots at Spacestation Gaming back behind them. Totality's opted in their vehicles and going out and around, but they still have yet to make it inside the safe circle. The blue is collapsing down behind them. You can see it's right on their heels as they're running over and through. Team Gates is still holding their position that they're at. They've got their nice little vehicle fort that's in position. Ghost still driving around on the outside of it. They've taken a lot of casualties early as well.
Yeah, McCoy's, I think, stuck in the water as well. It looks like he's on the coastline. So only Caden and McCoy, I believe, are left unless they're split even harder. But that Georgia Pool area has begun to fill up with teams, but they have no reason to engage anybody. Optic going full defensive, also crashing in. Wildcard on scene, but now it's all about those edge teams out in the field. What's going to happen with this next shift? Will the bank on Georgia Pool pay off?
And I think that's the big question at this point. A lot of the Georgia Pool teams haven't necessarily had to fight each other too much. They're still 4-man strong. These guys have been playing around the hills and on these outskirts. They've taken a casualty here or there, and you know that they've had to burn through some meds, maybe lost some armor or some helmets. So they're definitely going to have to try to find something. They've got to get some kills to help propel them into these later rounds, because if we end up going towards Georgia Pool, that's going to be really hard for all these guys that have been having to take all these firefights, fighting a fresh, brand new 4-man squad that hasn't had to do much yet.
And we have seen the circle shift away from the Georgia Pool Bay. It still includes most of North George, but Space Station Gaming pushing on the rear of Totality, looking to try and restart this fight. Totality having backed off. Space Station Gaming not willing to let their down comrade go unpunished. They are looking now to see if they can spot out any movement. You can see H1 jumping around, looking to see if he can find the movement from Totality. He's going to be spotting them very, very soon. They're nearly right on top of each other. The shots ring out.
Takes the shots. Looks like he's going to get the down onto one of them. Spins back around. D-Master actually does get knocked in this.
Gankstars.
H1 has to drop down, but but this is a this is actually 3 squads that are all fighting each other right now. There's a lot of casualties that have come out. Loss is trying to crawl his way back over. Taro is now having to look back a different direction, but Gankstars is just peppering bullets into the outside of Totality. They now have dropped back into their building, so that's going to force Gankstars to look back up towards Spacestation Gaming, which is what they do not want to have happen right now, as the blue is now starting to condense down again. You can see just forcing them to run on the outside of this.
So they don't have a long distance to cover. It looks like Spacestation Gaming is going to back this one off. The flank did cost them another player, so there was nothing to be done there. It looks like Gangstar is going to play the spoiler on that plan. Totality did also take 2 casualties, so these teams have been brawling, and it is costing them here in the mid-game.
Space Station has to make their way down this hillside into what they know as a kill box, and it's very dangerous to run downhill because you have a couple of those problems where you can't necessarily have the best sight lines due to how all the trees post up.
Oh, look at this.
Right next to Gankstars, we've got Cloud9. If Nitrogen peeks over the top of it, he does get caught out and gets instantly dropped. You can see the rest of the guys from Cloud9 looking back over there. They know that there's a squad.
He turns
lines
back
up
on
another
him.
shot, gets 2 of them down. Gonna follow up with a grenade to try to get the instant kill. Looks like Teflon's trying to go for a side flank over there, trying to get a position up on it, but Cloud9 is really defended at this moment.
They keep turning their backs on Cloud9. That's 2 down now for Gankstars. Nitrogen maybe looking to be finished here by Cloud9, who is now swarming Space Station Gaming, also coming back this way. Nitrogen and, or sorry, excuse me, Teflon and Daz having to back off. They're going to be running right into Space Station Gaming. They're getting pinched here, and this is what happens if you try and start a fight without really being cohesive as a team.
Yeah, you can see that Gankstars have been caught in a lot of those fights like we were talking about. They've just already had to use a lot of their resources. They just crest up on top of a hill. There's a fresh squad sitting there that just pounced right on top of them, did a lot of damage, got 2 kills on it, and they're still hard pushing this. They know that they've got the damage. They don't know where the next circle is going to pop up. Now Gankstars is getting shot from so many different angles as they're just being forced out and forward. Cloud9's up on top of this hill and just spraying down into everybody. You can see Gankstars, Teflon taking a lot of damage from a good shot.
That's Frolicker landing the Car 98 shot with Moody following up with the M16, and now it's just Daz left standing, and that is going to be it for Gankstars, eliminated here in 16th place. Cloud9 now having to deal with a pressing Space Station Gaming as well, but Dignitas still using this divot position. They're now receiving pressure from Eunited.
You can see this has been kind of an ongoing fight. You can see that the cars are on fire now. Their vehicle forts are starting to slowly fall apart. They still do have 1 vehicle that they can use. Meanwhile, Dignitas still playing inside that little divot. All their vehicles are protected. They're good if they need to do another transition. You can see they keep kind of cresting up over there, taking a couple of shots. Eunited's taking some very long-range shots over at those guys on the hill where we were just watching that last fight. Looks like Motivate is coming over in that general direction.
You can see McCoy running through the top portion of that shot where he's just trying to find a way into the zone. Totality still trying to figure out what they're going to do at that top portion of the play zone, where you can see now the circle is about to shift once again. Dignitas has been playing their divot position quite well, but now for all of these teams in Georgia Bowl, is this now the time where they're going to have to move out? We'll find out quite shortly, but that's the issue, is the transition out of Georgia Bowl. Is this going to be a problem for them?
And look at this. We can already see Slime Squad, which was the original controlling point inside of Georgia Pool. They've shifted out and now can take shots at anybody that has to push this direction. But no, it's going to stay on Georgia Pool. It's all the guys that are out in the fields that are now going to have to make their way in. All these guys that have been caught in these long-range fights, they all know where each other are. This is going to be so hard to transition out of. Finally, you can see Team Gates is getting spotted out by Cloud9. They still holding that high ground position. They're making everybody's life so problematic right now.
So we can see this hill that we're just showing now with Cloud9 occupying it. This is going to be a very important point to hold. Cloud9 is going to be able to use this vision to allow, or sorry, to prevent any teams from getting out of Georgia Pool if that is going to be the issue. But it's now going to be managing the sightlines onto their position as well. You can see all these teams having to shift into this field is going to be super problematic because vehicles now are just not viable.
And look at this. The guys from Totality are just bouncing from spot to spot. Team Gates comes rolling out and forward, but it's going to be the guys from Eunited to take some shots. So Motivate's actually in the back of it. You can see Team Gates was really focused on Motivate, so they had to spin back around. We're over here with Taro now, who's doing this slow creep up. You can see all of these squads that are out in front of him. Team Gates just right on the outskirts of this. Over here now with Cloud9, they have line of sight down on Team Gates, but they have to move from their high ground position. So I wouldn't be surprised if they play right along the edge. They can hear the shots.
They can see Totality moving out in the field. Cloud9, the shots ring out. Space Station Gaming also attacking Totality, who waited just a little bit too long and have no vehicle cover. As Smithy is down and eliminated, only Taro is left. So for Totality, another tough round, but this top portion of the play zone is occupied by 4 or 5 teams now, and there's no real cover for them.
Yeah, they're playing around this little ridge right next to the road, so it's you kind of crest up and you can take a couple of shots. Dignitas can be a little bit weak from their backside, so that's why they keep looking over towards Eunited. Taro is right over there, right on top of Team Gates, but Motivate's Inferno is actually pushing right up on top of them. This is going to be a pretty dangerous little area, as you can see on what we're looking at right now. That little square box off to the left side is going to be Motivate that's starting to make their way into that 3-man squad fight.
So for Eunited, I've actually been impressed with their ability to stay in the fight but out of harm's way. They now take down and finished McCoy from Ghost. I believe it's only Caden left from Ghost. But yes, you can see all these guys prone in bushes. This is the issue with no cover. They have to be very, very passive. Taro just trying to play for placement. There's still 15 teams remaining.
Yeah, it's so important for all of these solos to try to survive for as long as they possibly can right now. Naturally, kills are worth a lot, but you want those placement points. So the squads are trying to get these finalized kills, but they just can't get that last guy that managed to sneak out and away. Spacestation Gaming now finally getting caught out. H1, I think, is just hiding around the outside of that, right next to the
Moody knows where he is. They just know that there's no line of sight. Now, instead of tunneling onto this one last player, I think Cloud9 is exposing themselves just a little too much on the hillside there, so they have to be careful. But there is a jumble of stuck players. There's nothing they can do. Too many eyes from Cloud9, too much pressure from the teams around them. For these three teams, Team Gates, Motivate, and the last man standing from Totality, Interrogate, they now have to move, and that circle has shifted primarily away from Georgia Ball and again into this open field.
There's still a little bit of Georgia Pool that you can see kind of where Honeybadgernation is at. Honeybadgernation still in a strong position. Remember, they're in second place right now. They have a good controlling spot, but you see Cloud9 is off on the eastern area. They're going to have to move down that hill, move into the low ground. I'm kind of curious to see how all of these squads disengage on top of each other. We've got Taro over there, Team Gates over there, Motivate. They all have to kind of come out and around that outside corner, and they're going to have to push right over to where Dignitas is at. So we're over here with Taro now lining up. You can see Cloud9, they're still in that good surveillance point, but they are going to have to leave this. You know that they want to get the kills that they can, but they just can't quite figure out which bush all these guys are hiding in. 10 seconds, circle's about to come in, and they're on the thick side of the circle. You can see that they do have their marker on where they feel that they want to go. Green marker is down there. I think that's a little bit of a divot that they can play in right next to the Georgia Pool area, and finally Moody does see somebody.
I like the call here from Cloud9. I was just going to show on the map. That's a great spot to try and take as we see Riem take down and try and finish Inferno, and he will be. Oh, actually, it's Wookie Bookie who steals that kill. So unfortunately for Cloud9, they're going to lose that one. But Dignitas has been super active this entire game, and now Moody has decided, hey, you want to steal my kill? I'm going to put one on you.
Yeah, Wookie Bookie is now down and on the outside of the circle. They're having to come back into this. So with this, we'll just do a quick listen in onto C9's comms and hear how they're talking about and communicating this movement.
Yeah, team 3, headshot him. Two tap.
Nice.
He's knocked.
We need to get in circle.
Where
There could be a snake down here.
Okay, so
Don't
we can.
forget about SSG.
I think
Wait,
we go
they're
down.
taking a bike. They're taking one guy.
Bike, yeah,
Hit him.
bike, yeah. You can further down and have good cover.
Guys, we can't tunnel here. We can't tunnel here.
Attack them. He's gonna get fucked. He's gonna get fucked. Attack
Watch
them.
out below us. South. Could be a snake.
I'm going over the hill.
We need to rotate. Let's go.
Wait, there's a US here.
And so now they're
Keep
cresting
moving.
back
someone's
over this
shot
hill
off. Someone
position.
just
They are
shot off.
firmly aware of it. I really like how they were aware of the fact that they needed to not tunnel. They needed to get into a safe spot. Spin back around. You can see the guys from Motivate were trying to make their way in. Stab is not going to allow that, so we are now down to 9 teams, 27 alive. Frolicker retreats back, gets the UAZ. He wants to use it for a piece of cover to get them a little bit more. Looks like the circle has now got most of Georgia Pool pulled away from it, but there's still those guys that are posted up in there that haven't had to be involved in a lot of these fights.
Really liking Cloud9's vehicle positioning here. Trigger Happy also going down. Now down to the top 8 teams. We have seen Cloud9 staying super active. Dignitas in the same boat with them. Cloud9 has taken a dominant position in the center, but all of these teams coming out of Georgia Pole are going to be dealing with each other now. Eunited Slime Squad facing down across a street. Dignitas not far away. These apartments are occupied by both Orbit as well as Honeybadgernation, and we are about to see a very important shift here as Kaistiko taking a little bit of circle damage there, maybe unnecessarily, but we are going to go basically dead center. Cloud9's position going to pay off.
Yeah, that's a nice transition point from Cloud9. You can see already hopped inside the vehicles, bringing him out, going to get this set up. The big point about it is the fact that Stab has to provide cover for Frolicker. He does manage to disengage out of that. Moody's now got to make his way down the high ground position. Honeybadgernation is still posted up in that front point on Georgia Pool. They're going to probably have to be the last team to move, but the big factor in this, Dignitas, who's been so violent inside of this, they've given away their position about 10 minutes ago. They're going to have to crest over this road and run right into a no man's land. Luckily, they do have the UAZ. They still have their Dacia, but it's going to be real dangerous to crest the top of this hill.
Cloud9 has the ability to take control here, but what they need to do is wait for this circle shift to force teams out of Georgia Pole. Allow the field to clear itself. Try and avoid having anyone crest that hill and finding that high ground cover on you. They do have something here, but they need to deal with Dignitas, who they are looking to try and find a seam in the defense.
The problem with this is they're right on top of each other, and they know it. And if they get caught into a skirmish, all these guys that are going to be moving into the circle will be able to see them and just tear them apart from the outside of it. So at the direct time, that is a beautiful grenade coming out there. That's going to be a down. Eunited is in a world of trouble now, as I think it is just Microfry up and Geis.
Yeah, and that's another nade finishing off, and Geis is finished. That was Eunited basically putting up almost no fight as Slime Squad is able to do a ton of damage to them. Geis going down to the play zone. It is only Microfry holding a rear position. I'm not sure why they were split in that particular situation, but now it's Honeybadgernation in this circle, forcing teams out of the Georgia Pole area. This is going to be an absolute bloodbath.
It's everybody that is stacked on top of each other. Looks like Wildcard has managed to get out. They're playing on the walls, and they're just trying to catch everybody as they have to reposition. Microfry is still alive on the outside. Slime Squad's going for an outside flank, and yes, that's going to be Wildcard finishing off 2 different squads there, I believe. And now they're just going to have to make their run as they are not yet inside the safe circle. They've got to watch off to their left side as Slime Squad is taking shots out. Wick just steps up and tries to get the down on it, but he's going to go down. Grizzly's still up and over here. You can see Pride's coming through. Microfry just running right into the middle of it. Gonna get taken down inside of there. Grizzly's just trying to crawl his way in. He's the last remaining hope for Honeybadgernation, just playing from smoke to smoke, but he's outside of the blue right now. Slime Squad just going up and trying to take a position.
They're going off right now. Slime Squad has picked up 8 kills. They are definitely getting the upper hand out of this transition out of Georgia Pole. Cloud9 having dealt with most of Dignitas, only 1 left standing, but now they're dealing with Slime Squad rolling through the outside of Georgia Pole, and they are looking for more.
See, the circle has repositioned. It's back down towards the Georgia Pole area. So while Cloud9 did that step out, they did manage to get down Dignitas. Now they're going to have to cross this field and try to make it over to the rock where their teammates are. And I don't even think that's inside the safe circle, so they still have to pull a little bit forward. All eyes from these Georgia Pole teams are going to be looking towards Cloud9. They know they heard these shots. They know that something was happening over here, but we do have a couple of outliers playing around that Georgia Pole area, sneaking around over there. We got to keep an eye on them as well, because they could pop up at any moment and just decimate Slime Squad.
Absolutely. Now we do have Wildcard and Orbit. They're going to have to move, but not as much as Cloud9. Now, this shift is going to be problematic for them. What cover is Cloud9 going to be able to use here? Slime Squad knows they're there. The shots ring out. Cloud9 having a great position so far, having to do a lot of moving here as we see Nikapa and Tumai sharing what little cover there is, but both of these players are going to have to move.
And you see that we've got Kid Cody off the outside of it. Cloud9 looks like they're going for the same position that Orbits and Wildcard are in. Tumai gets taken down. They just have a great position. They're playing both sides of this crested hill. They're taking each fight as they need to, and if they start feeling like they're a little pressure, they just come on it. You can see that Carbon steps up and around. Kid Cody actually spins on it, but Cloud9 just looks back down the hillside and says, nope, you're my kill, you're my kill. Now there's just one other person back behind him.
Spot for
Slime
Moody.
Squad's
Great spot
coming
for
on
Moody.
the outside of it, though.
I really like the way Cloud9 is taking hill control here. They're trying to clean up these kills. Now, Slime Squad technically has the low ground position, but Moody and Frolicker have taken an aggressive stance here, and now they're lighting up Slime Squad.
Trying to get those shots on top of this. You can see Slime Squad does get the kill on Orbit, knock them down. Now there's just 2 speed.
Moody!
Moody does a nice spin back around. That's going to be the weakened point on it. Microstar know that they're under pressure right now. Snowbird has to try to hit these shots, but Moody just has a beat on everybody from this high ground position. Every time they show their hand, he's just looking for him. Taking a little bit of damage off to the outside of it. Microstar's gone down as well. It's all onto just Snowbird. He's the last person that's still up and alive right now, and he is severely outnumbered. He looks back the other direction and gets the knock onto one of them. He still has smoke protecting him from the other direction.
1v1.
He's pulling back over there. Looks like, is he going to crest this? Is he going to get the vision? He does turn around and see it, and that's going to be Slime Squad with Snowbird